Hey gang, my name is Jen McDonough, also known as the Iron Jen. I'm the 48 Days connector at 48days.net, and we are so excited to have you join us for our Ask a Coach series. Tonight we are excited to have Dr. Phil Carson in our session tonight. Phil will be talking about stress, but before we get started, I just wanted to give you a little intro on Dr. Phillip Carson. He's the president of Carson Natural Health. He's a pharmacist who thinks outside the box of traditional medicine. He believes in helping people find natural alternatives and integrative nutritional solutions to their health problems. He is committed to leading people to find the root cause of their health problems and not just treating the symptoms. Dr. Phil is passionate about encouraging and teaching people how to live a more balanced, healthier, and vibrant lives. He believes in equipping people with the knowledge to make the right choices for optimal health. I saw this. He is a granddad that is so
Yeah.
excited. He's been married to Kim for over 30 years, and they have 5 healthy and happy children. Dr. Phil, thanks for joining us tonight.
Oh, thank you, Jen. I'm honored to be here on the show tonight. I really appreciate it.
And we have to preface this by saying that your background's a little different tonight, but the reason is because
Yeah, I've been on a photo shoot tonight with a new book that I've got coming out. So I was getting some new photos made for my website and for some promotion of the book.
and do you have a little prototype I think you had there?
Oh yeah, I've got. Let me see if I can put it in the thing here. How to live until you die. The 7
Nice.
keys to living happy, healthy, and whole.
We can find that on Amazon pretty soon, correct?
Yeah, hopefully by in the next maybe in the next 3 weeks. We're shooting to get it out before Christmas.
Nice. For those of you listening to the replay, probably around January 2017, that should be out. So you can do a search on Amazon for that. Well, tonight we're going to be talking about how to keep stress from killing you. I would imagine in the work that you do that you see people coming in to you with symptoms that they may not even know that are related to stress. What are some of the things that you're seeing or problems that you're seeing from people that have stress that aren't addressing it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things, Jen, that I deal with probably more so than anything else with patients, ones that are having a variety of different types of symptoms related to the stress in their lives, whether it be daily, everyday stresses of life, or it be some type of traumatic event that has happened in their life, whether it be emotional or physical. Sometimes it's a combination of both, or somebody's had some type of accident or something that created emotional and physical stress in their lives. But yeah, I see a lot of patients that are dealing with that kind of thing. And one of the major problems that they're dealing with when they've been affected by this stress is sleep issues. And they're having trouble either getting to sleep or trouble staying asleep. And sometimes it's both. And because of that, because of the lack of sleep or the lack of quality sleep, I call it, they end up with a lot of other health issues, because of that. Another thing is fatigue. They're extremely fatigued. The fatigue sometimes can be directly or partially related, rather, to the sleep issues that they're having, but it also can be related to the stress itself and the effect that stress has on different physiological functions in our body that drain us of our energy.
And when you think of someone who's had lack of sleep, they're tired, they're exhausted, probably they don't have maybe the best patience in the world. They're not really functioning at their highest capacity for focus, I would imagine.
Yep.
There kind of dealing with the root cause must not always be easy because they probably want the quick fix. Is that something that you can?
Absolutely. Yeah. Everybody wants a quick fix. And it's when it comes to stress issues, there's not always a quick fix. A lot of the patients that I see, it took them years to get into the shape that they're in physically because of the stress. And sometimes the stress issues have gone on in their lives for years and years and years. And I tell them all the time, you didn't get in this shape overnight. You're not going to get out of it overnight. It's going to take some time, but we can help restore your adrenals, is what I call it, because we're dealing with two little glands here in the body that control or that are directly affected by the stress in our lives. And what I see with a lot of people is that they have different, I guess, levels of adrenal stress issues. We call it, there's adrenal fatigue, there's adrenal exhaustion, there's adrenal failure. And people may not have even ever heard of what adrenals are, or know that they even have adrenal glands. But they're the glands in our body, tiny little glands that sit on top of the kidneys that produce what most people know as adrenaline. Most everybody's heard of adrenaline, or heard of people that have had an adrenaline rush, and they've done these great feats of strength with an adrenaline rush that normally wouldn't happen otherwise. And it's also known as the flight or fight syndrome. The adrenals produce adrenaline. They produce another hormone called cortisol, and they have effects on almost every other gland and organ in our body, as far as the hormones they produce and the different things that they help regulate in our bodies. So different people are at different degrees that I work with, and so we have to determine that and develop a plan for them and work with them and try to help them on an individual basis. There's no cookie cutter fix, so to speak, for these issues. It's all individualized.
I would imagine, depending on if you're in the failure mode, exhaustion, or fatigue, there's probably different levels, which I would imagine one or the other may take a longer journey to kind of reprogram. Would that be?
Exactly. And the more severe the problem, say where you've got adrenal failure, is going to be the worst case scenario. It's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of work and effort on the patient's part to help restore that and correct that.
Does that show up in a lab result, or does it show up just as symptoms?
Well, both. I mean, there's a variety of different symptoms that go along with these adrenal issues, and but lab reports, there's a company that I work with, a lab company I work with out in the state of Washington. It's called Diagnostics, and they do saliva testing. They originated the saliva testing for adrenals and other hormone testing 30-something years ago. And so I work with them. They have what's called an adrenal stress index test. We do this test collecting saliva samples, and it helps determine the rhythm of the adrenals and how they're outputting, particularly cortisol, but other hormones as well. So it can give us a real good picture of what kind of shape the adrenals are in.
Now, can the average person off the street go get this test, or is it something that's needed by a physician to be ordered?
They could probably order one off the internet somewhere, but you want a health professional that knows how to interpret the test, that knows what to tell you to do with the results that you get. So yeah, I wouldn't order one, off the internet if they're available out there. And I'm sure they probably are. There's probably somebody out there that's made them available for people to get. But you certainly need somebody to help you as far as a health professional that knows what to do to help you in finding out what you need to do with the results if you do get somebody to do it for you.
Dr. Phil, what are some of the steps that people can take to kind of relieve some of that stress? So they've identified that stress is indeed a problem, whether that's through a test or through, they know that they're not sleeping well, or that they're dealing with chronic stress or post-traumatic stress disorder or whatever type of stress. What are some keys that they can take to relieving some of that stress?
Yeah, well, this is something that I talk to patients about all the time. One of the first things that I tell them is that, look, you have got to learn to manage your stress and stop letting it manage you. And there's some things you can do to do that. Some simple steps that can be taken on a day in, day out basis that you can incorporate into your life that can help you in managing stress and stop letting it manage you. And one of the first one that I tell them is real simple, real easy to do. And most people think, well, what difference will that make? It makes a tremendous difference. And that's deep breathing exercises, to do the deep breathing. And a lot of people think, well, I don't like to do yoga. I'm not talking about yoga, because deep breathing is a part of yoga. But this is just simple deep breathing exercises where I tell people, stand up, stretch, open up your chest cavity, take some deep breaths, inhale completely, exhale completely. But as you exhale, you do it slower. You exhale slowly and let the air out slowly. And just doing that a few times, taking a few deep breaths, it's amazing how it will calm you down. And I'll tell you something that's really cool. I discovered this recently when I updated my Apple Watch. They have a breathing app as part of the Apple Watch now, where you can actually touch it and it will take you through rhythm breathing exercises. And so it's pretty cool.
That is very cool. When you say a couple breaths, what is, can 3 breaths even do any good for anyone, or does this have to be for 5 minutes, or what do you kind of recommend lengthwise for people just starting out?
Just a few deep breaths. With the app on the Apple Watch, you can set it for different times. You can do 1 minute of deep breathing exercises. You can do 3 minutes of deep breathing exercises. You don't want to do too long and hyperventilate, but you do need to do several. And you can feel, I know that this works for me, because sometimes when I get just really stressed out, I feel like everything's caving in on top of me. I stop and I do this. And I tell people, be careful now where you do it. Don't stand up in the middle of a crowd somewhere and start doing this. They'll think you're crazy. Go hide in the closet or in the bathroom or somewhere if you're going to do that. If you're going to lift your arms up in there and stretch and start doing these deep breathing exercises. But it does make a difference, and only just a few deep breaths can really make a big difference.
And one last question before we move on. Does it matter if you inhale through your nose or your mouth, or exhale through either one?
Well, ideally, what they tell us to do is, as far as this type of breathing, is inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth. Yeah.
Awesome.
And,
thank you.
One little added tip that I do when I'm doing these deep breathing exercises is that as I'm exhaling, as I'm blowing that air out, I say to myself, I'm blowing this stress away. I'm blowing it away.
Powerful, powerful phrase. Dr. Phil, I know you have quite a story that goes along with this, because these probably are techniques that maybe you didn't always do,
Right.
or have you?
No. I've learned these things. I've learned to employ a lot of stress relieving techniques in my life. And physical exercises is another one. Just getting out and taking walks, and that's part of my story that's in the book that I've written is about that very thing. Several years ago, well, actually, it's been 7 years ago, the end of this month. I was a successful business person. I had built 2 businesses. They were doing well. 2008, 2009, the downturn in the economy. I became a casualty of that downturn, and ended up losing everything. And so you're talking about stress, major stress in my life. And, the deep breathing back then, when something like that happens, it's not enough. It's good, but it's still not enough. But exercise is one of the things that I started doing more of, and taking walks at night. And sometimes I tell people, You don't have to do any major exercise. A simple walk sometimes can do wonders for you. And so I started doing that at night. I'd come home from work. Fortunately, I was able to get a job after losing my businesses. I was able to get a job. Being a pharmacist, those jobs are still pretty plentiful. But I came home late at night. A lot of times I'd be stressed, and I would just get outside. We live out in the country. I'd take these long walks down our country road, and just crying out for help and praying and meditating, and that's where this affirmation, and that's another thing for stress, is speaking positive things in our lives, and speaking these affirmations over ourselves. And one night as I was walking, this affirmation began to come out of my mouth. I just, out of nowhere, I started saying, I am happy, I am healthy, I am whole. And I just kept saying it over and over and over. Even though I wasn't any of the three, I was not happy. I was sad. I was depressed because I lost everything. I was heart sick, soul sick from everything that had happened. And I was in a hole, not whole. I was in a big hole, a deep hole that I was trying to dig my way out of. And but that confession kept coming. And it was something that really built my faith, built my strength, and gave me hope in a really, really trying time in my life. It's a really stressful time in my life. And so, yeah, those affirmations can do wonders for us.
You know, it's easy to say, hey, do this. And when you're in a good place in life, you're like, yeah, I can do that. But we have a lot of folks through the 48 Days community who are in transition of some sort. And transition, as we know, can be a stressful place to be in. And I think it's just very inspirational to hear that here you are, someone who may have felt kind of in a hopeless situation, that getting off the couch sometimes is the last thing that we want to do. When you're in that situation, you're feeling down, fatigued, tired, and going out. How long did it kind of take, or how long have you seen in folks that you've worked with, just these three simple things, the deep breathing, the exercising, and the affirmations? Is it something that you can start to see within the first couple weeks, kind of a change, a notice?
Oh yeah, sometimes you can. It's amazing how these subtle little changes, simple little changes, can provide some immediate results. And it did with me, and I've seen it happen with other people as well. Because you're doing something. You're not just sitting there, beating yourself up like I tended to do. Because I'm a type A person, and if I fail or if I mess up, I want to beat myself up. And getting out and doing those things that I was doing, kept me from sitting around feeling depressed and dejected and wanting to beat myself up. So and it can make a difference with anybody. And when we get out and start moving and continue to do things that maybe we were doing before something happened in our lives, like what happened to me. I have 5 children, and at that time, my 2 oldest were in college. I had 3 girls at home, and I couldn't sit around. I couldn't, sit around depressed and feeling rejected. I had to get out and keep moving and keep doing things. And we have a strong faith. My wife especially, she's a strong person of faith. And, she stood by me, and she supported me, and she helped me and encouraged me, even though I wasn't feeling like a terrible failure. And she was there for me. And that made all the difference in the world as well. And having people around you that will lift you up and encourage you and support you when you're going through stress or stressful times in your life, that can make all the difference in the world in a person's life, and how they manage that stress and how they work through it. So I encourage people to surround themselves with people that will support them and encourage them and show them love, regardless of of failure, regardless of how bad you may feel or how bad you feel like you've that you failed.
When we look at the steps that you've shared, so we talked about deep breathing, exercising, affirmations, and really having that team around you to support you and lift you up. Would you say those are probably the four most important things, or do you have some other things that have helped with that have had a great return on investment?
Yeah, I would say those are definitely four of the most important. But another one, and I've alluded to this and what I was talking about, is what I would do on these walks is prayer, meditation, and also being grateful, showing gratitude. Even though I had lost everything, I felt all the emotions that I had with all of that. I still was grateful. Grateful that I did still have my wife. I still have my family and my children. Grateful, and you can always find something to be grateful for, even in the worst time in your life. You look around and you can see other people that are in worse shape than you are, and I knew that, and so I was still thankful and grateful that I had what I had, that I didn't lose my house, I didn't lose my family. I lost my business, I lost my money, but I didn't lose the most important thing to me, and that was my family and my faith. And so we can be grateful and be thankful, even in the midst of a terrible storm or terrible tragedy in our lives. We got to look for those things to be thankful for.
Oh, what a powerful perspective and reminder. So, Dr. Phil, as you have worked with folks, do you kind of recommend those walks as being that key time to almost like a trigger of sorts to do the times of affirmations and maybe prayer or meditation and really those times of gratitude? Because it can be an easy thing to put off. Is it something that when folks are just getting started with this, that maybe that's the trigger, or would the trigger work better in the first thing they do when they wake up? Is there a certain routine? What do you usually recommend?
Yeah. Well, I recommend that they get into some type of routine. They start doing something. They take those first steps, and sometimes just getting out and taking a walk, whether it be at night, be in the morning, can make a big difference. But one of the things, Jen, that I learned to do through all this is to start a morning routine, or to stick with a morning routine. Now, I had done morning routines from time to time, but my morning routines kind of changed a little bit with the stress and the pressure. And I did learn to start my mornings off right. Our friend Dan Miller talks about this a lot, and he's got his little book called The Rudder of the Day. And what you do, how you begin your day, kind of sometimes can control how the rest of the day goes. So I would start my day off with prayer and meditation as well. Most of the time I would end it on most walks with prayer and meditation. But having a routine in the morning where you start your day off right is a great stress reliever. It's a great stress preventive. It's what I tell people this: if you want to prevent some of the stresses you're dealing with during the day, start the day off right. Get up and ease into the day. Used to, what I would do, I would get up early in the morning, or not early in the morning. Let me back up. That's what I do now. I would get up late in the morning, rush into the day, get ready as fast as I could, grab something to eat on the way out the door, and rush off to work. And I'd be stressed when I got there. And that's what a lot of people do. So I say, get up a few minutes earlier and start your day off right with some prayer, with some meditation, with some affirmations, and ease into the day so that you're not flying around, rushing and stressing yourself out before you ever get to work.
Dr. Phil, these have been some awesome tips. Thank you for sharing. Before we go, I want to hear two things. Number one, where can we get a hold of you? And I know you've got something to share with the group. And then two, if you wouldn't mind sharing someone that you worked with that maybe you find to be kind of one of your most successful stories, or stories that that you just kind of shake your head and go, that's pretty dang cool. That would be awesome. Because I think, again, a lot of the folks that we have at the 48days.net community and 48days.com community are going through transition, and change can be hard for folks. Economies go up and down. Finances play a large part on stressors, as do relationships, careers, all the things that we have going on in life. So if you wouldn't mind sharing a story, and then also letting us know where we can get a hold of you for, and what do you do? Do you do coaching, speaking, training?
Yeah. Do all of that. Yeah. Well, I'll share a story about a school teacher that came to me several years ago. She was one of these individuals that was experiencing adrenal exhaustion. She was at the point of adrenal failure, but she was adrenal exhaustion. She was a school teacher with young kids. I think she was in not a good situation with her marriage, and major stress in her life. And it just took a toll on her. She got to the point to where she had to quit teaching. She couldn't work. She couldn't hardly even function. She had struggled to get out of bed every morning, struggled to get off the couch during the day, because she was so literally exhausted and fatigued so much. And so she came to me, and we did the adrenal testing on her that I was talking about, did the saliva testing, found out exactly what was going on with what's called her cortisol rhythm or circadian rhythm in her body. And put her on some diet, and made a lot of dietary changes, because she had some dietary issues too that needed to be worked on. So we made those changes and put her on some supplements to restore adrenal function and get her adrenals working back like they were supposed to be. And I'll never forget the day shortly after she started doing all this. I don't know, it was probably a couple of months or so. She called me one day just beside herself. She was all excited because she was able to walk to her mailbox and get the mail and walk back to the house without being totally exhausted. And she eventually went back to work a few months later, teaching school, and was the last time I talked to her, which had been a while ago, she was thriving. And so it's just, a good example of what making these changes, simple changes sometimes, can do in a person's life. And her name was Carol, and she was one of my favorite success stories of how I've seen these things work in people's lives.
It's inspirational when you hear your story and her stories. Both of you are people who've had the success and you had the mojo at one point in your life, and then you lost it. And to have that success of gaining that back is pretty amazing. That's very inspirational.
Yeah. Well, that's, I tell people I've been extremely blessed, because 7 years ago, I lost everything. I was just, amazing amount of debt. And I didn't quit. I didn't give up. I kept fighting. I kept working. I was able to, with the help of another person, start another business. They asked me to come in and partner with them, even though I didn't have anything to put into the business other than sweat equity. I worked 6 months for free. We built up a business. And today, 7 years later, I'm totally debt-free. I've paid off all the debt. My house is paid for. God has restored more than I could ever imagine of what I lost. And it's been a tremendous blessing.
Dr. Phil, if someone's listening to this and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted, I need to work with him. How do we get a hold of you? And what is the experience of working with you? Is it something that you only do in person? Do you do online? If you can kind of walk us through that.
Yeah. Well, I do a lot of work in person, but I work online as well. I've got quite a few people across the country that I've worked with and in these areas, and they can reach me at carsonnatural.com. That's my website. All my contact information is on there. And there's a pop-up that'll come up on the screen as you're looking around that they can sign up for, get a free assessment and a stress assessment and the 7 keys to stress relief on there. So got that. So yeah, I'm happy to work with anybody anywhere. Just like we're doing right now, I do Zoom calls. I do Skype calls. We do just regular phone calls. So whatever a person feels comfortable with, we can do it.
And you work with regular people, or do they all have to be, CEOs and physicians?
I work with regular people.
I love it.
Doesn't matter where they come from, what their background is, or whatever it is. If they need help, I want to help them.
Well, very nice. Thank you so much for being on tonight. It was really a joy having you, and I know that there's going to be a lot of people impacted by the work that you're doing and the things that you've shared. So thank you for doing what you do and for being a part of our session tonight, Dr. Phil.
Well, thank you, Jen. I appreciate it a lot and having me on tonight. You do some amazing work yourself. I've been watching you for a long time since we met at Kent Julian's place a few years ago.
Yeah.
And, I appreciate what you do, and thank you for having this show.
Oh, thank you so much. Hey, give us a shout out one more time on your book that'll be coming out here towards the first of the year, so January 2017.
Yeah. How to Live Until You Die. 7 Keys to Living Happy, Healthy, and Whole.
Nice. Well, thank you, Dr. Phil Carson, and thank you so much for joining in. For those listening to the replay, we appreciate your time and are honored by it. We hope you have been enjoying these series. If you want to learn more about our 48days.net community, we encourage you to go to 48days.net. It is a free online community where we have almost to date, as the recording, almost 16,000 members at our site. It is a community of thrivers and people who are looking to find their purpose and passion. If you're a spammer, you can stay away, but if not, we would love to have you join our community and get involved. Thanks so much, gang, and have a great day.